The case too strange for detectives to explain. The body by the bridge. If you think this story is wild now, wait until you hear what the detectives found next. Hit subscribe, drop a like, and brace yourself, because this case defied every rule of logic. It began on the morning of April 16, 2015, in the quiet town of Maple Hollow, Oregon, a place where people still left their doors unlocked and waved to passing cars. At 6:47 a.m. a jogger named Martha Lee stopped at the base of the old Tanner Creek Bridge, frozen by what she saw lying against the guardrail. At first, she thought it was a mannequin. The skin looked pale, waxy, drained of color. But when the wind shifted and a strand of blonde hair moved, she realized it wasn't plastic. It was a woman, barefoot, dressed in a light blue sundress despite the freezing temperature. Her body was positioned upright, seated perfectly straight, with both hands folded neatly in her lap. No blood. No visible wounds. Just, placed there. Within minutes, police arrived and cordoned off the scene. The woman had no ID, no phone, no jewelry, nothing to identify her. But here was the strangest part. Her clothes were completely dry, even though the night before had been a torrential downpour. Detective Ryan Fletcher, a 19-year veteran, was called in. The crime scene instantly unsettled him. This wasn't random, he said. Someone wanted her to be found exactly like this. As forensics examined the area, they found no footprints, no tire tracks, no drag marks, only the faint scent of bleach in the air. That same afternoon, an autopsy was performed by county pathologist Dr. Lorna Whitaker. The body showed no signs of trauma, assault, or poisoning. Cause of death, unknown. But one detail caught her attention: small crescent-shaped indentations on the inside of the woman's wrist. Not cuts, not bruises, impressions. Almost as if she'd been wearing a watch too tight. 2 days later, the victim was identified through fingerprints. Her name was Claire Dunham, 28, a schoolteacher from Portland who'd gone missing 3 days earlier after leaving her apartment to meet someone from work. Her phone was last active an hour before her death, pinging from a rest stop 12 miles from the bridge. Detective Fletcher began retracing her final hours. CCTV footage from the rest stop showed Claire standing by her silver sedan, scrolling on her phone. A black SUV pulled up beside her. She looked at the driver, nodded once, then got inside. The SUV was never seen leaving. A bolo was issued across state lines, but nothing matched. Fletcher reviewed the footage frame by frame and noticed something chilling. As the SUV's headlights flashed across the camera lens, the timestamp jumped backward by 1 minute. It wasn't a glitch in the system. The same camera had recorded hundreds of hours without error. Then came the second body. 4 days later, 40 miles east, another woman, Tara Connors, 32, was found seated in the exact same position under a different bridge. Same folded hands. Same dry clothes after rain. Same faint scent of bleach. But Tara's phone, recovered near the scene, had a video file saved at 2:13 a.m., less than an hour before she died. Detective Fletcher pressed play. The video was shaky, recorded in a car. Tara's voice whispered, "I think he's following me again." The camera turned toward the rearview mirror, showing headlights in the distance. Then a man's voice said, calm and quiet, "Pull over. You know what happens if you don't." The screen went black. Fletcher leaned back in his chair. The voice, low, commanding, sounded familiar. It wasn't until he checked the department database that he realized why. The voice belonged to Detective Aaron Cole, a fellow officer. W.H.O. had vanished in 2008, declared dead after a car crash off the same highway where the first body was found, but Cole's body had never been recovered. Fletcher didn't sleep that night. He drove out to the bridge where Claire Dunham was found, flashlight in hand, the sound of water rushing beneath him. When he reached the guardrail, something glinted in the mud below: a police badge, half buried and rusted, with the name barely legible. A. Cole, his radio crackled. "It was dispatch, Detective Fletcher. We just received another call. Same description. Another body by a bridge." He stared down at the badge, the wind cold on his neck. "This can't be real," he whispered. The man who should have been dead, Detective Ryan Fletcher, stood by the third bridge in less than 2 weeks, watching as paramedics zipped another body bag shut. The same pattern: folded hands, dry clothes, faint bleach in the air. The only difference this time was the note tucked neatly under the victim's wrist. It wasn't handwritten. It was typed. She wouldn't stop asking questions. Fletcher's hands trembled as he slid the evidence into a plastic sleeve. The message had been printed on official Maple Hollow Police Department stationery. The victim, Rachel Mayers, was a 24-year-old journalist who had been investigating unsolved disappearances near the Tanner Creek area, the same region where Detective Aaron Cole had vanished 7 years earlier. Fletcher didn't believe in coincidences. The local press had started calling the murders the bridge cases. The FBI was now involved. But even with federal oversight, the crime scene seemed one step ahead. Every location wiped clean, no DNA, no fibers, no footprints. And then there was the surveillance footage. Every time they pulled camera feeds from nearby areas, they found one anomaly, a dark SUV with mismatched headlights passing through. Same make, same model, every time. The license plate was always unreadable, not removed, but digitally obscured, as though someone had tampered with the footage before police ever received it. Fletcher began to suspect what no one else dared to say out loud: someone on the inside was manipulating evidence. He started digging into old files, searching for Cole's final case from 2008. What he found made his blood run cold. Cole had been investigating a series of disappearances of women across Oregon, all teachers, all between ages 25 and 35, all last seen near isolated highways. The case abruptly closed when his car was discovered wrecked and burned in a ravine. His bad GE and gun were missing. The official report said no foul play. But the deeper Fletcher read, the clearer it became. Cole had been close to something big. Too big. That night, Fletcher visited Cole's last known address, a small cabin 30 miles outside town, long abandoned and half reclaimed by weeds. The wooden porch creaked as he stepped up, flashlight beam dancing across walls covered in peeling paint. Inside, dust coated everything. A single desk sat in the center of the room. On it, a rusted tape recorder. Next to it, a stack of audio cassettes labeled in shaky handwriting: Victim 1, Victim 2, Victim 3. Fletcher pressed play. The first recording crackled. Then a woman's trembling voice: "Please, I did what you said. I won't tell anyone. Please." The rest was silence, followed by a faint hum, a bridge's echoing undercurrent, the sound of rushing water beneath steel. He stopped the tape. His throat felt dry. He picked up another labeled Final Entry. Cole's voice came through, weary but controlled: "If anyone finds this, it means they're still here. They never left. Don't trust anyone in uniform." The line hissed, then stopped abruptly. That's when Fletcher noticed something strange on the wall above the desk: a series of police photos pinned in a grid, all with the same words scrawled above them in black marker: 3 bridges. One hand. He stepped closer. Each photograph showed a woman seated the same way as the recent victims, except these were dated years before Cole's supposed death. Fletcher's stomach turned. The killings had never stopped. They'd simply gone silent. His phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number: "You shouldn't have gone there." He froze. The text was followed by a photo attachment. It was a live camera shot of him, standing in Cole's cabin, taken from outside the window. Fletcher killed the flashlight and ducked low. His hand went to his weapon as he scanned the darkness. Nothing. Only the sound of distant rain on the tin roof. Then his phone buzzed again: "Meet me where it started." Attached. Coordinates. The same rest stop where Claire Dunham's car had last been seen. He called dispatch. No signal. The entire area was dead. Against his better judgment, he drove their headlights cutting through sheets of rain. The rest stop was empty except for one black SUV idling near the vending machines. Its taillights glowed faintly red through the fog. Fletcher approached slowly, weapon drawn. The driver's window rolled down. The face that stared back was older, thinner, but unmistakable: Detective Aaron Cole. He smiled faintly. "Took you long enough." Fletcher stood frozen. "You're dead." Cole shook his head. "No. Just erased." A moment later, the SUV's headlights flicked off. And through the darkness, Cole said something Fletcher would never forget: "You're investigating the wrong man." Then he drove away into the rain, leaving Fletcher standing alone, drenched, and staring at the taillights fading into black. But what Cole said next, on the voicemail he left hours later, would turn the entire case upside down. "Check the badge number on the first victim. It's not hers." The badge that shouldn't exist. Detective Ryan Fletcher sat in his car outside the precinct as dawn broke through the rain clouds. The voicemail from Aaron Cole replayed over and over in his head: "Check the badge number on the first victim. It's not hers." It didn't make sense. The first victim, Claire Dunham, was a teacher. She didn't have a badge, she wasn't law enforcement. Fletcher grabbed his laptop, logging into the internal records database. When he typed in the number engraved on the badge found beneath the Tanner Creek Bridge, 1476, his blood ran cold. The badge belonged to Detective Ryan Fletcher. He stared at the screen, motionless. It had to be a mistake. He'd never lost his badge. He reached into his coat pocket, pulled out his own badge, and compared the numbers. Identical. Either someone had duplicated it, or the system itself had been compromised. He went to Internal Affairs immediately. But before he could speak to anyone, he noticed two unfamiliar men in suits standing near his desk. Their ID tags didn't match any department division. When he asked who they were, they simply said, "Task Force Review," and walked away. By noon, Fletcher's computer access had been revoked. His emails wiped. His office locked. It was as if he'd been quietly deleted from the system. Just like Cole that night, he drove back to the first crime scene, Tanner Creek Bridge. The air was damp, the trees heavy with fog. The rhythmic roar of the river echoed below as lightning flashed across the sky. He set his flashlight down and opened the evidence bag containing the badge. It wasn't just dirt-stained anymore. The back had a faint engraving, nearly invisible to the eye. Under the beam of light, it read 3 bridges. One hand. The same phrase written on Cole's wall. He finally understood. The victims weren't random. They were connected by evidence, planted, fabricated, erased, and rewritten, all using police property. Someone was building perfect crimes from within the department itself. He dug deeper, retrieving Cole's old case files and cross-checking autopsy records. Every bridge victim shared one subtle feature: crescent marks on their wrists. The same impression left by handcuffs. That was it. They weren't being abducted by a stranger. They were being arrested before they vanished. Fletcher's mind raced. Only one unit had jurisdiction across all 3 counties, the Major Crimes Task Force, disbanded after Cole's disappearance. He looked up its former members. For names, the 4th name made his stomach drop: Deputy Chief Hal Granger. His own superior, the man who had assigned Fletcher to the case. Before he could call for backup, headlights appeared on the far side of the bridge. A familiar black SUV rolled to a stop. Cole stepped out, his coat soaked through with rain. He looked older than Fletcher remembered, tired, haunted. "You found it," he said quietly. "They never thought you would." "Why me?" Fletcher demanded. "Why the badge?" Cole sighed. "Because they needed someone clean to frame. Someone the public would trust. When I got too close, they made me vanish. You were next." Thunder cracked overhead. Fletcher's phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Step away from him." He looked up. 2 black sedans had pulled onto the bridge from the opposite side. Men in dark coats emerged, guns drawn. "Detective Fletcher," one shouted. "Drop the weapon. Step back from the suspect." Cole raised his hands. "They'll never believe you," he said softly. "They've already written the ending." Fletcher froze, torn between instinct and disbelief. "Then tell me, Cole, who's behind it?" Cole looked past him, eyes heavy. "You already know." Gunfire broke the air. Fletcher hit the ground as Cole stumbled backward, a dark bloom spreading across his chest. He fell against the guardrail, the same position as the victims, and collapsed silently to the pavement. By the time backup arrived, the shooters were gone. Only Cole's lifeless body and Fletcher's own badge remained beside him. Weeks later, the official report labeled Cole's death officer retaliation. The case was quietly closed. Fletcher was placed on indefinite leave for psychological evaluation. But he didn't stop digging. He traced the money trail, the erased records, the internal database entries, all leading to one final discovery. The task force review that had erased him wasn't government at all. It was a private intelligence contractor paid to manipulate case evidence for law enforcement. They called the system Project Erasure. Every time a case threatened to expose corruption, they scrubbed it, rewriting logs, deleting bodicams, planting false leads. Cole had tried to stop them. Now, Fletcher knew too much. The final scene in the report described Fletcher's empty apartment weeks later. Door unlocked. Coffee still warm. Badge missing. On his computer screen, left open on a Word document, were his last typed words: 3 bridges. One hand. We were never the detectives. We were the evidence. The file was last saved at 7:56 a.m., the exact time every bridge case had begun. If you thought this story was chilling, the next case makes this one look simple. Hit subscribe, because what you're about to hear next might just be the one case no one wants solved.